This was me at the end of my fat loss phase when I'd lost 56 pounds postpartum, and this is me 8 weeks later where I have maintained that result. We always hear about fat loss, calorie deficit, diets, but we very rarely hear, in my opinion, about maintenance and how we maintain the result that we've achieved. In this video, I'm going to share with you exactly how I've been able to maintain my 56 pound loss, keeping the results of my fat loss phase. Learning how to maintain those results, rebuild your metabolism when it slowed down a little bit, especially after a period of dieting. As a byproduct, you'll end up having more energy for the things that you love to do, like training, or maybe you want more energy to play with your kids. So if you're a woman and you've currently done a fat loss phase, maybe you've already reached that end goal weight that you're happy with, or maybe you're not quite there yet, but you need a little bit of a break, then I'm going to detail you how to approach your maintenance phase. My name is Misha and I help hundreds of women all around the world trying to get fitter, stronger, feel healthier. So first things first, let's just clear up exactly what maintenance is. It is what it sounds like. We are trying to maintain our weight. This means with your body weight, you're not losing weight, but you're not gaining weight either. As a byproduct, your body can get used to the lower intake of food and your metabolism starts to slow down. It's called metabolic adaptation. There are some adaptations that do happen when you do lose weight. These include decreased satiety, your hormones are going to be altered, reduced BMR, increased hunger, and reduced NEAT. So a reduction in calories actually comes from a reduction of your NEAT. This is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So these are all the activities that you do that include movement that isn't your training session. So fidgeting, cleaning, gardening, the housework. So let's just break this down. Let's say before you started a fat loss phase, you were eating around 2,300 calories, but then you started your fat loss and you ended your fat loss phase on approximately 1,400 calories. So let's just say your new estimated calories are 2,000. Obviously, this is just an example. Everyone's maintenance, everyone's deficit calories are going to be different. If you want to know your own maintenance calories, then use an online TDEE calculator to work out what your estimated calories. So now we know what your estimated calories should be. What do we do when you finished your fat loss phase? Option number one is to go straight up to those maintenance calories that you have just worked out. So let's just say you've gone from 1,400 calories to 2,000 calories. That jump means if you're having more food, you're probably going to be getting some of those increased calories from carbohydrates, and carbs will bind to water. So you are going to see a jump on the scale, but it's just important to remember that that jump on the scale isn't fat. You are going to have some water retention because 1 gram of glycogen binds to 3 to 4 grams of water. So it's completely normal. Option number two is a reverse diet, which is a gradual increase of your calories. So if we go from 1,400 to 2,000, we do it in small increments. These increments can be weekly, it can be every other week. This method of going slower could be beneficial to someone who is a little bit apprehensive when it comes to eating more foods. It completely depends on the person. For example, if you are someone who has competed in a bodybuilding show like I have done before, when you've been chronically dieting for months and months and months, sometimes having a slow reverse diet isn't a great method because your adherence is already down. And honestly, I would say if you are someone who is really diet fatigued and just exhausted, a reverse diet isn't necessary. Just go back up to what your estimated calories should be. So I've gone through a couple of maintenance phases before. One of them was a big fat fail, and that was after I had competed in a bikini show in 2019. So a bit of a backstory, I had chronically dieted for 10 months under a coach. In the process, I was so diet fatigued, but by the time my show had arrived, I could not stick to a reverse diet calorie. And if I knew the knowledge that I knew now, I should have gone straight back up to my maintenance calories. So learning from personal experience and really just understanding yourself and where you're at in terms of your own journey and how long you've been dieting is really important when it comes down to a reverse diet or a maintenance phase. So fast forward to now, I had my baby last year and I've spent periods of time over the last 12 months trying to lose weight. So overall, I've lost 56 pounds, but my goal was always to get to the current goal weight that I'm sitting at now. And 8 weeks later, I am still sitting around 1 kilo heavier than my lowest check-in weight when I finished my fat loss phase. I haven't tracked everything for my reverse diet, but I know what's in my food and the amount of calories that I am consuming. So the way that I've done it is I've structured my meals exactly the same, but I've just started to increase elements of them. So for example, I will just have more potatoes, more pasta, more avocado. Yes, the scale weight has fluctuated, it's gone up. I've not let that put me off and thought, oh my God, I need to go back into that deficit, because I understand if I'm gonna be having, firstly, more calories, those calories are gonna come from carbohydrates or some of them, which therefore means I'm gonna have a bit more water retention. And you can just feel it sometimes. You just feel a little bit more watery, not as toned, not as lean, but it's important to remember that that is not fat, it's just water retention. One of the benefits that I've massively seen since increasing my calories back up to maintenance is the amount of energy that I have and my improved sleep. I get to a point where I don't really want to do any workouts, I don't want to go for any walks because I'm just tired. So that is not a place where I want to be building healthy habits. So I just notice such a difference when I do increase my calories and spend a significant period of time in a deficit. If it's anything less than 2 weeks, I would say that is more a diet break and not a maintenance phase. You really want to spend a chunk of the year at your maintenance. You can't always survive in a calorie deficit. You shouldn't always be trying to lose weight. What I'd always recommend as well is looking at your schedule and what have you got on throughout the year. When have you got holidays? When have you got quieter times? You know, when do the kids go back to school, summer holidays, Christmas, and trying to structure your phases in terms of fat loss, maintenance, bulking, whatever it's going to be, when you've got different social events, and actually use these events to work with your goals as well. So how to maximize your maintenance phase. Number one is to use food as fuel. You want to make sure that you are still training and you are putting effort into your training sessions 2 to 3 times a week, 2 as a minimum, and within your strength workouts, you are applying progressive overload. You want to focus on getting stronger and you want to use the food to fuel those sessions. Tip number 2 is to move outside of your workouts. So this is where so many people go wrong. You spend all the time in a fat loss phase, ticking the boxes, doing your steps, doing your workouts, and then as soon as you finish, you've gone back to old habits and we just stop moving. This is where you start to yo-yo. Instead, you still need to keep in place the habits that got you to the end goal weight, but now we just want to maintain the end goal weight. So yeah, it probably doesn't need to be as high in terms of your step count, but you still need to make sure that all the habits that you've put in place when you've tried to lose the weight, you are doing as part of your healthy, balanced lifestyle to maintain the weight. Tip number 3 is to prioritize your protein, and you're probably going to roll your eyes because you hear about it all the time, but if you are pushing yourself in your strength workouts, you are going to be breaking down your muscles. Protein contains the amino acids that we need to use to repair, to then regrow the muscle, and that is especially important. As a guideline, everyone's different, but I would always recommend at least 1.7 grams per kilogram of body weight for a general protein goal. Tip number 4 is to prioritize whole foods. So again, where people go wrong is when they start to have more calories, they start to fill those calories up with junk foods, biscuits, chocolates, crisps, all the good stuff. They taste good, they're full of sugar, they want to make you eat more, which is obviously a downside when you are trying to maintain your weight. So it's very easy to overconsume, very easy to get those calories back up. So you want to, as a general rule, try to prioritize whole foods, which makes up around 80% of your diet. And then the 20% is the treats. So the avocado, the olive oil, the pasta, the potatoes. You're going to be more satisfied by using a method that prioritizes whole foods. Tip number 5 is some form of tracking. So you don't have to track all the time, but I do recommend that it is a good idea to at least track when you are starting to increase your calories, to know that you are within that calorie budget. But I do think think it's a good idea if you are someone who struggles with perhaps maintenance, or you've never done a reverse diet before, tracking at least some days to make sure what you're eating and you can kind of eyeball those portions on the days that you aren't tracking. I think the most important thing, and it is so crucial when it comes to a maintenance phase, is you're trying to build a life that you don't want to escape from. And what I mean by that is where people go wrong before, and where you may have gone wrong before, is when you finish a fat loss phase, you start to stop the habits that got you there. So what we need to do is create habits that are actually sustainable, things that you can stick to. For me, daily walks and finding movement, training at the gym, training at home, doing Pilates, doing circuits, doing spin, going for runs, daily walks. I've got structure within my training, but I've also got variety, and it's something that I don't want to escape from, because if I don't want to get a heavy leg session done in the gym, I can do a Pilates session at home, or maybe I can go out for a run. So my key message really is try to find a routine that you love and that you actually want to do, because that is how you're going to truly maintain your results. Lastly, you are never going to stick to a plan 100%. So if you feel like you've gone off track a little bit, don't worry, don't let it derail your progress. Just get straight back to what you're trying to do, because that really is a balanced approach when it comes to a healthy lifestyle. Enjoy the process, keep trying to prioritize a healthy, happy lifestyle, and I will see you in the next video.